Hi everyone, Plastic EP here from Melbourne, Australia. I've got a very special guest, Daniel Coston. How are you today, Daniel?
Very good, man. Good to be on this. I saw your interview recently with The Circle and loved it. And then you reached out to me a few hours ago. I said, well, I've got to do this. So here I am.
A big hello to The Circle. And Daniel, tell them what you do.
I am a rock photographer, writer, lapsed videographer and filmmaker, and all-around wandering documentarian, which I've done pretty much my entire life.
That's amazing. Now, you've taken photos for the Monkees and the Beatles. Just say yes, and then we'll tell them later.
For the most part, yes.
All right. Now, you just told me an amazing fact, right? You know this book here? I'll just show you the book before we start.
Yeah.
This is the amazing book by Ann Moses, Meow. I want everyone to go out there and buy it. And tell me now, you know the other person that helped with the book. Tell me about that.
This book was a lovely book, fantastic book, by the way. It was written by Ann Wicker, a fellow Charlottean. And I've known Ann forever. And one day she emailed me. She said, oh, my God, I'm doing a book with Ann Wicker. With Ann Moses. I was just like, fantastic. Can I talk to Ann too? So I ended up interviewing Ann twice as well. Once about this book, which really is fantastic, and also about the Beach Boys. As we were discussing earlier, Ann actually did an interview with Brian Wilson right around the release of Pet Sounds. And a fantastic interview. And if you can search it out, I definitely recommend it. It's really one of the few one-on-one interviews he did during that time. So it's a really interesting insight to where he was when that record came out. And his mom was actually there. Brian's mom was there as well and speaks up a couple of times in the interview. Really fascinating stuff.
That's fantastic, as I said. And you're a rock icon, rock and roll icon. Everyone loves you. Everybody I talk to talks about Ann Moses. I even spoke to Billy Hinchy, and he was talking about when they were doing interviews with Ann, and they were pulling her hair, they were having fun, and it was like, she's amazing. For the 60s and 70s, she's a role model to everybody, and I reckon every girl growing up, they'd aspire to be, at that time, like an Ann Moses. She's just like ahead of the field.
Girl,
let's talk Monkees.
Yeah.
We're going to talk Monkees. Tell me how you got associated and hooked up with the Monkees and the photos you took and things like that. But while I do that, let's just get into the photos. Here's one now. Right. Tell me a bit about this one.
I believe all of these are from the Pantages Theater. I got to photograph the Monkees 50th anniversary show at the Pantages Theater with Mike and Peter and Mickey. And I was invited by Andrew Sandoval, the fabulous Monkees manager and archivist. He basically said, "You're coming, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I have to." And so I flew out to LA and basically did a 24-hour trip. I flew out in the morning, got there in the afternoon, shot sound check, shot the show, and then as soon as the show was done, I took a cab back to LAX and flew back overnight because I had 3 events in Charlotte I was booked for the next day. And none of the clients knew what I was doing. It was just like, oh, hey, I'm here. Oh, never mind that I have had no sleep. But I was just in LA 12 hours ago, and it was awesome. So it was an amazing experience. Really, every show that I did with the Monkees, photographing them over the last 8 years, was just a wonderful experience. I am a second-generation fan. I first saw the Monkees on my birthday in Charlotte in 1986. Once you're a fan, you're always a fan, as you know. Just beautiful music, really diverse. I've always said you can't define the Monkees. They're almost shapeshifters. They mean different things to different people, including the Monkees themselves. And to put a label on it really doesn't do the music justice. So, if you love it, the Monkees, that's what it is. It's just love. The Monkees music is love. That's all it is. And I was supposed to photograph the first reunion tour in 2011 when they came back. I fortunately didn't do it because I took a gig back in Charlotte. I thought, well, they're going to come to Charlotte on the fall tour, 2011. Durham, North Carolina. I'll see that then. As you know, the show was that part of the tour was canceled. Davey passed away the following February. And I really never thought that we'd see the Monkees again at that point. It just didn't seem possible, but I didn't know what they were discussing. So when the tour with Mike happened in 2012, it was like, okay, I have to go. I have to be there. And I got in to shoot the show I took the train up to Keswick, Pennsylvania, shot the show. And at one point I turned around and there's Andrew. And I said, hey, what are you doing here? And he goes, well, I'm managing them now. I was like, I need to be in touch with you. And so every year after that, the following tour, I would see them at least one tour stop and photograph the show, send them the pictures, and they would use pictures for social media and this and that. And then, of course, I shot several shows on the 2016 tour. I really kind of watched that tour come together, starting the previous year, that first show, the first Mickey and Peter show in Nashville, Tennessee, as a Schermerhorn Center, which really good show. You could see them going, okay, how can we put this show together with just us? And they did a great job. I think anybody who saw the 2016 tour knows that they put on a great show. But having Mike back for that one show at Pantages, everybody brought their A game. The videos are out there, the audio recordings. Thankfully, everybody out there had their phones up, was taking pictures, recording it. And that's beautiful because we can all relive or see what it was like to be there that night. It was a fantastic show. Something about the crowd that night, and many nights I've seen the Monkees, it's something really powerful. The amount. I'm
also going to say, Andrew Sandoval, I've been fortunate enough to meet him twice.
Yeah.
I've got so much respect for him. Everything he does is like quality work. Everything he's done for the Monkees, he takes the care. He loves the band. As I said, he manages them. The guy is a true rock and roll historian. He's got one of the best radio shows.
Yeah, love his show.
The man is like just so great. And I want him to know Australia love him. Australia love the Monkees. Australia love Christian and Cirque. And, this is very important for them to come and do the tour that they did in Australia and to play the Sydney Opera House and come here to Melbourne and take it around Australia. I got to tell you, that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience that, is part of now the Monkees legacy. And I take my hat off to Andrew for helping to organise something so great.
Yeah, same here. Andrew's turned me on to so much amazing music. In fact, it was one of his first reissues, which was the Left Bank reissue he did in 1992, that turned me on to that band and has led me to end up working with the band later on. And I'm actually now working on a project. I don't know whether it's articles or a book, but it's a history of the Left Bank, which is an amazing story that needs to be told. And that's all back to people like Andrew who said, hey, you should check this out. You really would like this. And we need more people like that in this world.
Well, he just did something great now on the Kinks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Tell me about that. This is like mind-blowing because the Kinks are great and he's done all this fantastic project again. He's at the forefront of everything.
Yeah. And that's real love for him. I mean, his favorite record is Village Green. And the fact that he grew up and got to be the guy that put that record out for the 50th anniversary. As somebody who's been involved with a lot of bands that I loved as a kid, it's hard to put words into that. It means so much to you inside. And it's okay if it's hard to describe that love and emotion that gets us through with the things we want to do, but maybe it's not supposed to be described. Maybe if I get a good picture of it, maybe that does the job. So yeah, it's a big thing.
I was very happy that I actually gave him an album by the Kinks that I had to search around for just to give him as a gift, as a thank you. And also, do you know he loves the Australian band, the Easy Beats?
Yes, as do I. And he was one of the first people to turn me on to them. I was like, wow. I mean, that whole Australian scene, as you know, Easy Beats, Masters Apprentices. Oh God, it's just endless. That's one of the fun things about the music that we're discussing tonight with the Monkees and Beatles and the other bands. It's like it's endless. Just when you think you've heard every band, there's more. It's like I'm a big fan of Teenage Fan Club from Scotland, and Norman Blake, the singer, has said that his favorite record of the '60s was actually a Charlotte band. It was a band I wrote about for one of my books.
I don't know if you've heard of a band called the New Piccadillys.
Yes.
I did an interview, and they are fantastic. George Kessler, George, he does this. He does all the puppets. I don't know if you saw this control video. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I'll have to check that out.
George Kaiser, yeah,
that's
right. Type in the New Piccadilly and see this video that he's handmade. I think it was 3 years it took him to get this video together. He does the group as puppets. He does the recording studio as puppets. Unbelievable.
Wow.
George Kaiser. Always check it out. I've done an interview with him. If you go to Plastic EP Live TV, I've got over 75 interviews that I've done within 2 months or just over 2 months, and he's one of the subjects there. It was a pleasure to do an interview with him. Just mind-blowing. And it sounds like the early Beatles. Sounds like the Please Please Me album, the one they got.
Oh, I got to check that out. Wow. Okay.
It's going to blow your mind. It did for me. And I'm going around Australia looking for the CD, and I can't find it, and I'm telling everyone about it. It's that great. If it was 1960 and this band was out now, the New Piccadillys, I'd be the Brian Epstein. I'm not joking. It's like discovering the Beatles.
Yeah.
In 63.
Isn't that the greatest feeling when you discover something that's like, oh my God, I love this. Oh my God, I want to share this with everybody. Yeah. Oh yeah.
But this is like unbelievable. And the puppets he's done, he's just done a puppet now of Little Richard. He was making the puppet. Unfortunately, Little Richard passed away and he was doing the puppet. And then he's done Jerry Lee Lewis as a puppet. You see these puppets and you are totally amazed.
Oh, I got to see this. Wow.
And I'm talking the quality of the puppets. This is like beyond. You must see my interview. You must.
I'll go back and look for that. And then I got to photograph both Little Richard and Jerry Lee years ago. That both were amazing experiences. Yeah.
Now I want to go back to your monkey stories. All right, you've had dinner with them and things like that.
Yeah.
Tell me a few stories.
Oh gosh. The Nashville show. I got there early and actually got to have dinner with Peter and Mickey, and we're just talking about music, Peter was telling me stories about the Left Bank. He'd met Steve Martin Caro, the singer, stories about different bands they'd talked with along the way. And we were talking about setting up the sound check as part of the ticket package. And I was telling them about what Paul McCartney was doing with his packages, where he does largely a completely separate show at Soundcheck, apart from his main show. And Mickey and Peter just kind of lit up like, wow, we can do that. We really can do something. And then a few months later, I'm listening to an interview with Andrew, and he's saying, well, I was telling Peter and Mickey about this show, the thing that Paul McCartney does at Soundcheck. I was like, that conversation sounds familiar, but, you know, Andrew was in the room, so it sounds better out of his mouth. So there you go. The Pantages show, I go back to that because it was just so amazing. I wish everybody could have been there for. I should also mention that a lot of my photos from this past tour were used for the Australia and New Zealand tour. They were used as promotional pictures. And those were shot in Michigan. And I drove four hours from Ohio. I'll tell you something that the band didn't know at the time was that was the first trip I had made to Ohio since I found out that my mother-in-law was dying of cancer. And that was a tough time. But I said, can I go and photograph the Monkees? She said, why are you asking me? I want you to have fun. Go. So I actually got permission from my mother-in-law, who, still is a big influence on my life. And I went and shot the show, and it was amazing. It was the next to last date on the tour. And I shot them thinking, I don't know when I'll see them again. Let's just go. Let's just burn. Sometimes the best feeling I have in life is just letting go. And I am going to shoot something like there's just no tomorrow. And I was all in that night. And I had a blast. It was an awesome show. I said goodbye to the guys, and I drove through like 2 snowstorms on the way back. I think I got in about 3:30 in the morning. And the irony was, as I got to my mother-in-law's house, the snow stopped, and I realized that for the first time on the trip, I'd actually gotten ahead of the snowstorm. So I sat in the car and watched the snow start to fall on her house. It was like for a moment I was ahead of life. I had actually gotten myself ahead of life, ahead of what was coming. So was just an amazing night, an amazing feeling all around. And I'll still want to thank Probin Gregory for giving me his spare dinner ticket that night so I could eat with him at the casino.
That's amazing. Now, I've got to ask you, can you give me a Mike story?
I have not really interacted with Mike that much. I will tell you, though, that I did, I actually was going to Keswick, Pennsylvania. I actually went to Keswick, Pennsylvania the day that Mike had a heart issue. I drove 10 hours from Charlotte and got there and found out what had happened. So there's really not much you can do at that point. All you can do is hope for the best and go back home. But a couple months later, he recovered and went to I went to see him on the First National Band Tour. And that was at the Birchmere, Alexandria, Virginia. Great show. And there was a moment where he was talking about the songs and talking about his first wife, Phyllis. And he just stopped and looked down and cried for a moment and then looked back up and then gestured to both of his sons just to say, this is what Phyllis and I created. This is the continuation of that time and these songs. And it was powerful. It was really, really powerful. I wish at some point I would love to have the chance to talk to Mike at length. Mike, like a lot of people, you're an internal person in a external world, and Mike can turn that on when he wants to. A lot of people can, another person, actually, I will maybe not same way, but similar things. I did several photos with Andy Griffith a few times. If you met Andy in person, he was very quiet, very shy. And then when he put him in front of a microphone, he was one of the best speakers I've ever seen in my life. He could turn it on like that. And I think when Mike wants to be an external person, he wants to be, and otherwise he'd rather keep to himself. And I want to respect that, to be honest. So if he calls me up, I won't say no. But if I don't ever get the chance to talk to him at length, thank you.
Now, I want to ask you about the Beatles. Let's go there. You've done a lot of photos for the Beatles.
I first discovered the Beatles. My parents had 2 Beatles records when I was a kid. They had Abbey Road, and there was this thing called Hey Jude or the Beatles Again. It was the stopgap record they put out of singles between Abbey Road and Let It Be. And I looked at those pictures on that record, which were taken by Ethan Russell from that last Beatles shoot at Tittenhurst.
Yeah, I'll let you keep talking. Get going.
Yeah, it was like, how do you do that?
Keep talking about that for a minute.
Oh, yeah, you got it. Ah, cool.
I'm going to look for it. So just if you like to keep talking, I'll try and find it.
Well, maybe this gives you an inkling to what I was going to be. I should have taken this as an inkling to what I would do in my life, because I can tell you the names of all the photographers that worked on all the Beatles records, starting from Angus McBean, who worked on their first album, and of course, oh gosh, and of course I'm blanking. Bob Freeman, who did everything from With the Beatles to Rubber Soul. Oh God, I mean, all my books over here are all Beatles books. So I do also want to mention this guy named John Kelly, who did the pictures for Magical Mystery Tour and the White Album. And I really love those pictures. They're very in the moment, very natural. And he kind of gets lost in the shuffle when you talk about people that worked with the Beatles. And Sean's work was great. And Ethan Russell, who I wanted to meet and talk to for some time, and I haven't gotten up the gumption to do so. Ethan was a big influence on me, not only for his work, but a book he put out in the early 80s that kind of where he dealt with, you can work with the Beatles and the Stones and all these great bands, but you still got to find a life. It's not all flowers, or it's not all flowers in the long run. And it was the first book I've ever read that kind of dealt with the day-to-day reality of, I've worked with all these famous people, but I still got to make a living. I still got to take care of, I still got to be happy. I still got to be myself. And that book, yes, there it is. The Beatles Again, or Hey Jude, depending on whether you're looking at the sleeve or the spine. And those actually 2 pictures from that same day taken by Ethan Russell. And I mean, you look at that as a kid, and and the back cover, Tittenhurst in the background, and you go, it's like, I loved album covers where it's like, that's a whole other world. It's a whole other life. It's like, what did it mean to actually be there standing in front of the Beatles, at that moment on August 22nd, 1969? Yeah. or take pictures like that. Yeah, I mean, again,
that's the Sydney concert. They took the photos, and that's only Australian release of Beatles for Sale.
Oh, wow. I've only seen that once. That's cool.
That's actual photos of the Sydney concert, put only on an Australian release.
Yeah. Man.
It's here. Front cover photographs taken by Tony Merrick of actual performance, Sydney Stadium.
That's cool. That's really cool.
I thought I'd bring something out cool to show you. And isn't it great that I had the album close by? You just said it and it's here.
You're much more organized than I am. That's one of the next things I need to do is reorganize my records. They're all over the house.
Yeah, but my problem is I got collectibles everywhere. And as I said, I've got a great Beatle collectible. I left it under a window. And my wife painted, and it's got paint marks all over it now. Thank you.
Well, darn.
Anyway, no, seriously, I've got it here. I'm going to show it. Hang on.
But yeah, you hear Abbey Road when you're 4 years old, and you're just like, oh, wow. I mean, it spoils you for life. It really
I love
does.
my wife. Look at this. This was given to me as a birthday gift.
And
you see those white marks? That's paint. Because it was underneath the window when she painted.
Well, there's love all over that picture there. So
I can take it off, but what I'm trying to say is, I mean, that's great, isn't it? And it's like, what can I say? I like collecting things, and I had this fantastic chair, and I was upstairs, and I looked outside my window, and I said to my wife, hey, there's a chair there near the tree. I'm going to go get it so that now I've got a set. She goes, don't bother, that's your chair. She threw it out. Anyway, let's get back to Beatles now. Tell me about your photography of the Beatles.
So I have photographed Paul twice, Raleigh 2003 and Charlotte 2011. I photographed Ringo in Atlanta 2011 and Durham 2015. I've met all of the kids. Of course, I've photographed Zach with The Who a couple of times.
That's big.
Yeah, love The Who. I've gotten to do the Who and the members of The Who a few times in different shows, and it's just fun, But
Daniel, you look so young, man. You look in your 20s.
Thank you.
I'm not joking.
Thank you.
I'm not going to say your age, but I mean, you look in your 20s, and I'm thinking, how's this guy associate with these people when these guys are like older?
Well, I often say that I wasn't there for the 60s, but I got there as fast as I could. So
I think you did, actually. Anyway, you filmed Love as well. Who else have you taken photos of?
Love, and I'll name almost all these bands I worked with. Arthur Lee and Love, Zombies, Left Bank, Chad and Jeremy, Procol Harum, Big Star. I got to do stuff with Big Star a couple times. That was so much fun. I mentioned Johnny Cash. I photographed Mr. Cash's last public appearances and the only ones he did after June passed away for the Carter family. And now both the Carters and Cashes use my pictures from those shows. That was beyond. It's one of those shows. It's almost like the Monkees show in 2016. It's like, don't think about this. Just go and take pictures. Imagine you're dreaming this, and maybe you are. So, but take good pictures. Yeah.
Well, you can't get higher than that, can you?
No.
You did the sleeve of his last album.
Well, all the pictures you see on the American recordings, actually almost all those pictures were taken for the American 4 sessions, and they're largely reused. And I understand the label doing that, but I would like to have, I would like to see some other pictures from the American years come out in some way. Forget that I'm part of that. And, John Carter, I will tell you that John Carter Cash has said told me and other people that a lot of his favorite pictures of his dad from the last year of his life are mine. I take immense pride in that. I mean, you don't have to pay me a cent at that point. It's like, okay, I did something good. So, but I would thank you. I would like to see some other voices used, and that may happen down the road. Record labels, the record business is a strange thing. But no matter what, the sooner or later the work is there. whether it's, whether my photos are used in a record or online, or, they're just in my closet for 20 years, the work is there. And it's where they end up later on is almost secondary to the moment of creation. And all I've tried to do along the way is try to take pictures that felt like the people and the places and the time that I was photographing them in.
But that's what normally happens, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
You've taken photos of Johnny Cash, okay?
Yeah.
Now, in times to come, those photos are going to be spread everywhere because they run out of photos. And the greatest work that you do sometimes isn't recognized straight away. I mean, I've written 2,000 songs. And you might look at me and say, you've written 2,000. Yeah, I have. 2,000 original songs. That was my life's work. They're on the net. They're on iTunes. There's 72, 74 albums. I don't talk about it, but it's there under the EPs. THE space EP apostrophe S.
Okay.
And that's my life's work. And people are slowly finding out about it, but I don't go and talk about it. It's not like a big deal for me. Because you know what? In time, people realize who you are down the track. It doesn't necessarily mean that success comes in an instant. I find that success comes overall. As long as you love what you're doing, they find out about it. It's the same as these interviews. I don't know anybody who's done 75 interviews in 2.5 months. That's me. And that's without even trying.
Wow. That's a lot of work. And, and I highly commend you for getting out and doing it. I always say, like, one of my favorite phrases that I use for over time is, you're doing this or you're not. And that's a very go do this. If you love it, you want to do it, go do it. And that's been my thing. So that's all like you, that's all I've tried to do is just go out and create.
I do it for the love of it. And let me tell you, it's people like you that I meet and so many other people that gives me the biggest satisfaction. It's got nothing to do with monetary. I don't make any money of this. I got a love for the Monkees music, the Monkees, the Beatles music, and other groups. And I try and interview interesting people. And like yourself, had I not found out about you through different connections, I would never have known. But now even talking to you, it's fascinating. Yesterday, I just did Peter Mills from the UK in Leeds. He wrote a book, Head. It's called The Monkees, Head, and the 60s. It was a fascinating interview. That's on Plastic EP Live TV too. You want to see interesting things, go and see them because they're there. I've got so many interviews now lined up in my diary. It's full. And the reason why people want to come on is they want to tell their stories. And I want people that have got something to say where it's a bit different. It's not the norm. Like even now, I do an interview with you. Anything you tell me that the public doesn't know, that's what it's all about. Learning new things, interesting things. And what you've told me so far, your life, for example, and your life in photography, rock photos, dealing with all these great, fantastic artists. I mean, what more do you want in life?
It's been an amazing ride. And I actually, back to what you were saying, one of the things I really take the most pride for is survival, that I'm still doing this 20, 25 years later, that I didn't give it up, or I didn't decide that I had to do something else. I'm still doing what I thought sounded like a really cool gig as a kid. And then when I started taking pictures in earnest in 96, 95, 96, it was like, oh yeah, I found a way to make it happen. It's beauty is in what we create and what we continue to create.
As I said, can you tell me any other 60s artists that you've taken photography of, photos?
Pretty much name any band of the 60s I've nearly photographed. I will mention I just finished an interview with the Association for Goldmine magazine, and I want to thank the Circle for that connection as well. I just interviewed 3 members. They've got some things coming that I can tell you about soon. Yes.
I got to show you the Beatles. I have to show you. Sorry. It's things like that. Like, for example, you didn't see my wife just popped in and brought me a coffee, and I thought that's fantastic. And I love it when I'm having an interview I'm relaxed. The person I'm interviewing is relaxed. Like you've got a drink there. If you want a drink, have a drink. I want you to feel at home. Because the best interviews are when you're relaxed and we're talking like we're at home talking. I love it.
Yeah, just, oh, there's a camera here. Oh, there's a microphone here. Yeah, those are the best ones.
Anyway, continue what you were saying there about the 60s artists. Who have you taken photos of? Like you said, Chad and Jeremy, wasn't it?
I've shot 2 records for Chad and Jeremy. I actually shot their live album in 2010. I'll tell you the story behind that one.
Please, and tell me how great those people are, because they're great.
I adore them, and I met them in 2006. Okay, I'm going to admit this in public. I snuck into their show in Newberry, South Carolina, because they didn't have the money on me to. But it was like the second half, I come from a gig in Charlotte, and I just, nobody was at the door, so I walk in with my camera under my coat. So I took pictures of the show, and then they came out for autographs, and the guys and I ended up talking for an hour after we just kind of got on immediately. And then they were going to come to Shelby in 2010 and record a live album. And the venue at the time had been having issues with photographers, so they weren't going to allow cameras at all, even for the show at Chad and Jeremy. And one of the things they had said to me was, well, you might bother people or might bother the audience. And I said, I was thinking about it, wait a minute. If the audience isn't there, are they bothered? So I emailed Jason Roden, their manager. I said, hey, here's a crazy idea. What if I just showed up at soundcheck with you and we just took the pictures at soundcheck? And he wrote me back. He said, I don't believe it. Chad was just talking about you. He had the exact same idea. Chad will call you in 5 minutes. And Chad called me and I said, what time are you going to be there? He said, 4 o'clock on a Saturday. I said, I will walk in with you. Just put your show coat on, take care of the sound check. Don't worry about me. I'll take care of the rest. And we shot the whole record at sound check before. And of course, that once the venue knew what we were doing, it was like, oh, you can shoot the show now. It's fine. It's like, we're done. So we had a great, it was like so much fun. I've been listening to them, all my life, and all of a sudden you're hanging out with them and you're pulling one over on somebody to get a record done. It's like, okay, this is a good gig. I can do this.
I love their songs. I love their sound. I just reckon they're great.
And I would also compare to the Monkees in that their records, particularly what they're doing within the pop idiom, was ahead of the curve, so much so that people were still expecting them to be what they had been the year before or 2 years before, and weren't prepared for it. They weren't prepared for Cabbages and Kings or even Three in the Attic or The Ark, much the way that people should have been prepared for Head, and they weren't prepared. So I love bands like that say, okay, here's the box you thought of us in. That box does not exist, or does not exist in the size that you think it exists. And I love bands like that. I mean, The Left Bank is another one like that. It's like people, yes, Walk Where Renee is an amazing song. Yes, Pretty Ballerina is a great song, but Desiree, like Goodbye Holly, that whole second album, which largely doesn't have hardly any involvement from Michael Brown except for 2 songs. It's a better record than the first one. So, that's one of the things I love about discovering music is like, okay, I've heard of this. Where else can it take me to? Where else can it lead me? And I love music like that of all genres. I should mention I have done work for Broadway artists. I've done work with the Glenn Miller Orchestra, which I first heard through my grandparents, and so that was a thrill. It's like life. The music and the ideas can take you anywhere you want to go, but you have to be willing to go wherever it tells you you should go. If you'd asked me out of high school, college, you said you're going to be a rock photographer. I'm like, oh, that's a nice idea, but I'm supposed to be a filmmaker, writer, director, this and that. That's what I did in high school and college. And life just said, oh, you hadn't thought about this? Come this way. So, another great band from the 60s that I've loved, that literally is with me my entire life, is the Beach Boys. The Beach Boys were the first show I ever saw in my life. I saw them at the New York State Fair in '83, one of Dennis Wilson's last shows. And then I saw the Beach Boys again in '96 at Farm Aid, which when it was in South Carolina that year. And that day, the rock photography bug hit me really hard for the first time. It was like at the end of the day, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I love this and I want to do more of this. And so the Beach Boys have, sustained through my entire being to the point now where the official Beach Boys fan magazine, Endless Summer Quarterly, is done in this area. And through them, I got to work on photos for the 2016 Beach Boys tour program.
You got a lot of photos of Billy Hinchy with the group. I did an interview with him. He's fantastic. Billy, I got to say, total entertainer. I just love the guy.
Yeah. And actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I was just scanning pictures today that my dad and I took of that Beach Boys concert in '83, and Billy Hinchy's in those pictures. So it was really nice to see those again.
He's a total great, fantastic person and great musician.
Yeah, I got to be his driver for a day. He came through to the Charlotte area in 2009 for a benefit, and I just, I was taking the pictures for the organization, but he needed a driver. I was like, well, count me in. I'll do that.
What happened? Tell me. He's got so many stories.
Oh, he does. And it's, just hanging out at Dean Martin's house, and all of a sudden they're a band. I mean, they went from, hey, we should form a group, to being on national TV like
Ed Sullivan.
Yeah.
Hollywood Palace.
Oh, my God.
He's Hollywood royalty. I told him, you've got to see my interview. Everybody's got to see my interview with Billy, Plastic EP Live TV, on Facebook or YouTube. But I also got to tell you, he's got a fantastic show every Saturday night on Facebook. You can't miss it. It's just fantastic.
I will
Keep
check
talking for a while, a little bit more about the Beach Boys. I'm actually looking for a CD. While you talk, just tell me a few more Beach Boys stories.
Oh, gosh. Well, I got to see the 50th anniversary tour and photographed it. And the venue we were at didn't really like photographers. Let's just say that. So I went through a lot that day. So it was, you run down, take pictures of the first three songs, and you have to leave the venue and put your gear in your car. And otherwise we'll bodily harm and all these things. And so we had seventh row center tickets. And I'm just sitting there this whole show just going, I need to take pictures of this. This tour may not happen again. So the second half, I ran to the front of the venue. I said, okay, I have an emergency. Can I go to my car for a minute? They're like, yeah, fine, whatever. So I ran to my car. I put my camera body in one sock, and I put my lenses in the other sock. And I think I had another lens in my back pocket. So I pulled my shirt out, and it looked like I was kind of, it was summer in North Carolina, so I'm huffing and puffing and sweating. And as I walked back in, I stared at the security so they wouldn't look down at my shoes. It is in Shawshank Redemption that you never look at a man's shoes. And if they had, they would have noticed that I had snuck all my gear back in. So the second half, Brian comes up to the front playing bass, final bows. I shoot all of that. And I was so happy about that. I mean, again, that's a moment. How often are we going to witness these moments again in our lives? And, call it brazen chutzpah, but I think I can get a good picture of that. And I want to get a good picture of that. So I try not to be nasty about it, but sometimes the photos say, you need to take me. You need to take me now. And I treasure those pictures that I was sneaking at the end of the night, because you know what? That's history. That's real history. And again, it's the moments that you witness and the moments, hopefully, that I document that say something to other people later on.
Now, Daniel, I've got to ask you, tell me now all the websites, all the links, and tell them where they can actually see your photos. And I just saw your photos now, and I'm totally amazed. So tell them where they can go and see photos. As I said, photos like this. Look at that. We got the best ones from there. This is unbelievable. Tell me the link to that.
You can go straight to my website, which is danielcoston.com. Just my name, danielcoston.com. It basically operates as a blog. I had created this site as a way to get all my interviews. I've done interviews for different magazines for like 25 years. And of course, the photos took over. So if you actually search Monkees through my website, you will find all the pictures I've taken of them through the years. I was just, I'd come back home and say, yeah, that's it. I'll post these pictures. And so they're all there. Pretty much you can find any artist I photographed through that site. And if there's somebody up there that you want to see pictures of, email me, send me a message. I take requests. Oh, yeah, there he is. I love that suit. And once again, I was so thrilled to see him on the First National Band tour. I saw that and the Byrds tour within a month of each other. And wow, that was,
That's huge, Mr. Tambourine Man. That song's a classic.
Oh,
have you done anything for the Turtles?
Yes, shot them several times. Yep. Oh,
I got that photo, and I put the word Monkees over it. It's one of my favorite because it's just so great.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty boss.
I'm not a photographer, but I like doing things on the side.
Whether you're on this side of the camera or another, we all need eyes, we all need ears, we all need somebody to say, you know what, that's good, that's really good. We all, even if it's one person, we all need that in life.
I mean, even I've been saying for ages, I don't know why. Can't we do a DVD of the Monkees? Get all the songs from the TV show. Get the songs, the actual recordings, and do it like ABBA has done it, greatest hits. We're watching the film clips from the TV show, but now we've got the proper recordings, not from the television show. Because that's what they're doing. They're remastering everything. And the sound, if they hook it up with the old clips, one after the other, would be unbelievable. I know, because I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
When we had videotapes, I got the TV show and I just took out every single song, put them one after the other, and I think it was 3.5 hours worth of clips of just the songs. And I was amazed. But imagine if you got that, because you can buy the box set now.
Yeah.
Of course, on Blu-ray and whatever. Andrew had a lot to do with that. He did a fantastic job. Yeah. And I suggest people go out and buy the Blu-ray set because it's getting harder and harder to get. And the quality and as I said, the effort that's gone into that through Rhino is unbelievable. Their products are unbelievable. Even what can I say? Hang on. Even these are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Andrew had everything to do with these things.
Yeah.
We didn't get quality.
Yeah. And it's
fantastic.
And even with a company like Rhino that's done a fantastic job, you do have to fight. You do have to say it has to be done this way. And there's a lot of things that have to be pulled together to get the product done and done right. So, hats off to Andrew and everybody at Rhino for doing it right. Because a lot of labels might have said, well, it's not worth the return. But later, the product is worth the return. They got a lot of costs. Yeah. They got a lot of costs. It's easy for me to say, let's try and make it. But as I said, they got a lot of red tape. They got a lot of cost. It's economic as well. But I mean, you buy the DVD of ABBA, the greatest hits, one after the other, all the video clips. It's fantastic. Same with the Beatles. You see that like the number ones, how many songs there are, 20 or 30, one after the other, you play it on your TV. It's fantastic. We need that for the Monkees too. I think you may see it at some point. There's always a lot of moving parts that you have to deal with when you're not only, and they're dealing with that rare thing where they have new work as well as archival work. So there's that balance. You don't want to do Capitol. I'll go back to the Beach Boys. Pet Sounds is out for 4 months, 5 months, and it wasn't doing what Capitol wanted. So they rushed out a best of, and it's be easy for a lot of labels to do that, but generally, Rhino has wanted to give time to all the different things they're releasing so that people have time to pick them up. So One thing I've learned with the Monkees, and other artists as well, never say never. So,
and also I want to say, I don't know why Apple doesn't release the Beatle cartoons on DVD. I don't understand. They're not rushing to do it, but why would you go and buy a bootleg when you can release the product and make money and people want to see it? Did you know that came out in America in 1965?
Mm-hmm.
The Beatle cartoons, it had a rating of like 51% of the audience, unheard of for that time, but it didn't end up being shown in Britain till the 90s.
I think there's this strange thing of, well, America created, that was for American audiences, and that's and I also don't think that Apple, still being largely English based, doesn't realize the impact those had in America. They were huge. I mean, it is a little strange when you get more into the latter period, and when they're trying to do animations to Tomorrow Never Knows and Strawberry Fields and all these other things, which they were doing. But it's a wonderful time capsule. Again, it may not be what people's vision of the Beatles is, but ultimately it's all visions of the Beatles. And we were discussing other people who had played with the Beatles or were members of the Beatles at different times. I met Pete Best in 2004, did some photos with Billy Preston in 2002. They're all part of the story. The Beatles cartoons, all the different things that haven't been officially released, they're all part of the story. And yes, Pete, look at Let It Be. How long has everybody been buying bootlegs of Let It Be? Because they want to see it. And I'm anxious to see this new version of the film that Peter Jackson is releasing in September, because it's a different part of it. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited. And also, there's going to be things that a lot of people, myself included, have had on bootlegs for 50 years that we finally get a good copy of.
Exactly. What you say is correct. It's the market. It's the demand. I mean, the Anthology series. I'll give you the example with the Anthology. Why did they do the Anthology? Because I'm sure they got sick of people buying bootleg records and they're missing out on the money. And they got the masters and it's not bringing any money. It makes sense.
Or you may not be aware of this. There was somebody, and it was an anonymous person, did a 28-hour podcast called The Beatles Anthology Revisited, and was just dropped on the internet. Basically, it took all the Anthology interviews and ones that were cut out of the original broadcast. Interviews, they had interviews with Tommy Moore, the Beatles drummer pre-Hamburg, I'd never heard before. It's in this. And why do people want to hear it? Why do I want to hear it? Because it's more Beatles. It's more stuff that I didn't know existed, and I want to hear it. So I think labels have to make that. It's a hard decision to say, okay, there's not enough people. We don't think enough people are interested in this for us to do it, or it somehow would be glutting the market. But, I think the Monkees are evergreen, the Beatles are evergreen, the Beach Boys to a certain degree. There's a lot of artists that it's not a crime to want more. So if you find a way to release that in a way that benefits the artist, but also puts that work out in the best light, then I think it's all for the better in the long run. I mean, look at the 2018 release of the White Album with the bonus disc of the Easter demos. I mean, I've been saying for years that was the best Beatles bootleg, bar none. It still is. In fact, there's still, what you get on, it's over here somewhere actually. What you get on that version of Easter demos is different than the bootlegs, in not just in the mixes, but also a couple other alternate recordings. And so it's like, it was done with a big knowledge of, oh yeah, we're beating the booth, we're releasing this, and they should have released that long ago, but it's not quite what we've had on bootlegs. So,
but that's like the number ones.
Yeah.
The number one was the biggest sellers. The first time they got the number one hits of the Beatles and put it out in one CD.
Yeah.
And then they put it out as a DVD. Instant hit. Of course it is. Because ABBA puts it out, bang, and sells millions.
Yeah.
They've done the best job.
I think even EMI and Capitol, even certainly the Beatles themselves are still amazed it's still going. But there's a point with music where, you know what, it grows beyond the artist. It finds new audiences, new ears, and you have to just say, okay, let the music go. I mean, the Beach Boys have kind of been doing a similar thing where they've been doing iTunes releases of different things that were about to fall into public domain, but it's a lot of stuff that a lot of us have heard for years and wanted an original clean copy of. We want to hear them in Boston in 66, 67. We want to hear them working towards Summer Days, Summer Nights, and all these other things. So it's like, I think, especially now we're in this digital age, if you can find a way to release it and it benefits the artist, but the artist is making money on it, it's already being sold out there. Find a way to release it, and I think it benefits everybody in the long run. Yeah, it may not every release is going to be as great as Pet Sounds, but for those of us that love the journey from Pet Sounds and then the journey from that to Smile and Friends, and particularly Sunflower, that's one of my favorite Beach Boys records. It's all fascinating. I'd want to hear it.
Can you tell me about Smile? Can you tell me about the album Smile? That's the one that's got like a cartoon and it's a shot front on it. Did he release that or didn't release that? What's the story with that album?
The short story is that he was working on Smile, and for various issues, he gave up on the record, the project that was Smile, and the rest of the band sort of took parts of it and then released it several months later as Smiley Smile. So a number of those songs from the Smile sessions were released. You know, Surf's Up was later released on Surf's Up's album, was part of Smile. Cool Cool Water, which was on Sunflower, was from those sessions. I mean, the list is that it was an amazing amount of songs that for a variety of reasons Brian couldn't finish. And now we have the Smile sessions, which is fascinating, and it really is. I think for me, Smile is kind of like music's Edwin Drood, to use a Dickens reference. Everybody has their own version of Smile and how they think Smile should go. And you know what? That's okay. Because everybody can shape the music, those songs, which are beautiful and really are some of the best things that any American composer or any composer period put out in the 20th century. You can put it together and say, this is what I think Smile should be to me. And ultimately, it's the listener that gets it. The irony of Smiley Smile is that, you know, one of the reasons why Brian gave up on Smile was that some members of the band and the record label were saying, this is too far out, this is too weird, and this and that. But if you listen to Smiley Smile, it's really way out and weird and incoherent. And it's a fascinating, it's a good but a flawed record. In some ways, the knock that Smile was too far out there doesn't hold up, because Smiley Smile in some ways is too far out or farther out than more Smile wanted to go. So there you are.
You know, that reminds me of a song. I'm just saying in general, after I've done this interview, right?
Yeah.
Hang on. There's the album there. But you know what's a great song? I went on YouTube to see it. She's so far out. She's in.
Yep.
That sums up a lot of things.
Which was recorded by the Monkees at the headquarters.
Exactly.
Section.
That's why I bring it now. Coming back to the Monkees, before we say goodbye, because it's been a fascinating interview. I rate this as one of the best box sets, right, with all the Monkees albums on it.
Yeah.
That, to me, is great. And also, I want to mention our friend, Mike Nesmith, and I want to talk about the great products that Mike's got at Video Ranch.
Yes.
Right? This has got everything in it. All these albums. It's got First National Band in it. This is how much I love the guy. I want everyone to go to Video Ranch, because you got no idea of the great stuff that he sells. And he sometimes signs it. He goes beyond what it is. The man is a master marketer. And Video Ranch, I wouldn't buy from anywhere else if you want Michael Nesmith product. Look at the great book you get. I'm giving you an example.
Oh, wow.
A fantastic book inside. You probably know most of these albums, right? But I'll give you an idea. I've got time to do it. The Garden. Right. Tropical Campfires.
I think Mike is one of those rare people that, you know, he's creating those records to create, but then also found a way to get those out to his fan base. And that's almost two different parts of the brain. And you don't find that with every artist like Mike. So, you know, I'm really glad he has that outlet. You know, much like the Monkees themselves, I wish other artists had that outlet for people to find them and to release the music the way they want to release it.
That's a great one there.
Ah.
I'm just going to go through it for him. The great thing is, I paid for this box set.
God, I love that record.
I actually paid for it, you know. I love it. I've got a friend of mine who's in the business, and he gets a lot of free stuff because I've known him longer than they have for me. But don't get me wrong, I just love free stuff. I just love it. When someone gives me something, I really appreciate it. There's the First National Band there.
I'll tell you one story about Christian, and I was backstage talking to him in Ohio, and it was late at night, and he was asking about a song, and I couldn't remember if it was on. He thought it was on Loose Salute, and I wasn't sure because I didn't want to say no, it's not on Loose Salute. It was on Nevada Fighter, but I didn't have Nevada Fighter. That was a record you couldn't find here in the Southeast when I was growing up. But I forgot I can't remember what song it was. I had first heard that song on the Zigzag bootleg. It was a tape that somebody had given me. For those fans who haven't heard it, and hopefully that will get officially released someday, was a concert that Mike did with Red Rhodes for Zigzag magazine in England in '74. It is fantastic. I mean, to hear, Mike with Red Rhodes, and a good rhythm section, or just Mike with Red, that's it right there.
I mean, I take my glasses off and wink, but I'm not, because my identity's with these glasses. So I'm not doing it.
Mike Nesmith is so bright, you got to wear shades.
No, this is my trademark. These glasses I've had since the 80s, right? Because I was in a band, Plastic EP and the Records. If you want to look it up, the first 4 songs we did were punk songs in 1981 in Australia, and they got released on vinyl. Wow. So if you really want to know about Plastic EP, look up Plastic EP and the Records on a blog that's called Wallaby Beat. It's got all about Australian punk. They've got 3 pages. They tell my story. Plastic EP and the Records. Type those words in. Plastic EP and the Records will come over the net. In the last 2 years, they released my records. They reissued them. They've got like a greatest hits of 4 of the songs. And then they've also got 2 songs that were never released for 38 years. What the story was, we did a single. The first one was called At Home. And the flip side was 3 special words. Then we went into a recording studio and we did a song called When You Want to Make a Record. And the back of that was I'm Not Coming Back. And what happens is we recorded the songs and there was a problem at the studio. And luckily we had it on cassette.
Oh.
And we never released it as our second single. That was to be our second single. The mysterious master tape disappeared. So here's the irony. The song's called When You Want to Make a Record, and we can't make the record.
God.
No, it's a fascinating story.
Wow.
And then the producer goes, you've got the song When You Want to Make a Record. Why don't you just shorten it to Make a Record? So I did another version of that song, and it's called Make a Record. Right, you go iTunes, you go Spotify, the EPs, THE-EPS. But what I explain is, a lot of people want to know about Plastic EP. And I don't come out and tell them everything because they won't believe it anyway. So it won't matter. Let them discover me. So anyway, there's this blog, Wallaby Beat. And I want you to read it. It's 3 pages on the singles that we released. Because the first year we called Plastic EP and the Records. Then the following year we shortened it to the EPs to make it easier to remember, right? The name.
Okay.
Because not like Cliff Richard in the Shadows. You know what I mean? It's too long. And it was our entrance into like the pop music. So I kept my name Plastic EP since 1981. And that's why I still got the name Plastic EP after the 60s single, the little 7-inch with 4 songs on it, 2 on one side, 2 on the other. Because the Monkees released 2 EPs in 67. That was the entrance into the Monkees in Australia. Their first 2 EPs, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Stuff that you don't know. That's what happens when you're a first-generation Monkees fan. But all I'm trying to say is the marketing of things today and the way things are, the way I see it, and I don't even know if it exists yet, right? But you'll get a streaming service. And it will be, you'll sit in front of the TV. You're not watching the news and all this stuff. You type in the word the Beatles, and every single Beatle album is there, and you can hear it from start to end, or pick the album that you want on the wall, on the screen, or you can have continuous play, or you can make up your own favorites like they do like on Spotify, but it'll be on your screen. You want Rolling Stones? Every single Rolling Stone release. You want Madonna? Every single Madonna release. That's the future. You're going to pick your entertainment. You're not going to watch things that you don't want. And I'll tell you, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, they'll be watching this interview that you and me are doing now, and they'll go, Plastic EP, bang, there's like, I don't know, 1,000 interviews by then, right? Who knows?
Could be.
We're on 75 at the moment. But they'll go Daniel Coston, and there you go. You're there. That's the future. You pick your entertainment. You won't have to worry about record companies and that. It's all going to be on the streaming service.
Yeah. It does seem where it's all going. My only concern is that I hope people still get the chance to stumble into other bands the way you go to a record store or somebody would say, oh, you should hear this tape. You should hear this. We still need other voices around us, even if you're picking up your records like that. I hope that there's space for people to say, you know what, you might like this. I hope there's room for people like Andrew Sandoval and other people that can, introduce the other people to the music that they love. I think there is. I think there's still a place for humanity and all that. But whatever the future holds, I hope we got our records with us.
But I'm glad you said that, because you know what I was going to say? I'm going to tell you about an Australian band that I rate, to me, as my favourite, okay?
All right.
There used to be a band in the 70s called, in the 60s or 70s, it was Daddy Cool. You know about Daddy Cool?
Yep.
Okay, Daddy Cool's great.
Yeah.
Then what happens in there was Skyhooks. But you know my favourite band? We know AC/DC. Everyone knows AC/DC.
True.
But when AC/DC's management company, Albert Productions, they had another band called The Angels. Right. I don't know what they were called in America, but they're called The Angels. And they've got a triple CD out now. And you want to hear the music of The Angels. And that's my tip. As far as songwriting goes, as far as songs go, to me, they've become my number one favourite Australian band of all time.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
And do yourself a favor, listen to songs like No Secrets.
Yeah.
And songs like that. And you're going to go, you're not going to believe that it's Australian. Those guys, unfortunately, the lead singer has passed away, right? But those guys put out some fantastic songs that are real Australian, like, to me, they're it. So do yourself a favor, listen to that, Daniel. And I've got to tell you, it's been a fascinating interview.
Thank you.
And I've loved every minute of it. And people are going to know more about you. And as I said, just tell them where they can find you again, all your links and everything before we go.
Sure. DanielCoston.com. On Instagram, Daniel Coston Photos. On Twitter, which I need to use more of, just Daniel Coston. You can find me on Facebook. It's just Daniel Coston. My picture is always my late cat Milo, and because he was much cuter than I am. And I also have several books out, including this new one. This is the one I did have within reach of me. This is a book called The Last Days of the Double Door Inn. It's a book about a great venue that we had here in Charlotte called the Double Door Inn. And this is a straight up photo book of the last days. It closed in 2017. And I just wanted to have a book of photos that said everything that I had tried to say with words. And I'm proud of all my books. All my books are kind of like kids. They all have their quirks, but I'm proud of them all. And I have a few books I'm working on now, including a couple of autobiographies, the Left Bank Project that I mentioned, and hopefully somewhere soon you'll be hearing some new music from the Circle that I've had some involvement with. So I dare I say it, in the words of the Monkees, good times are coming.
But I mean, if you want to give me if you want to tell our viewers there's something that's coming up, can I guess?
Yes. You want to guess, or would you like me to tell you?
I'm going to guess and tell me if I'm right. Are you doing the cover for their new CD?
Maybe.
Okay.
There's a variety of new music releases that are coming from the Circle. Some of these songs you've heard before, but a lot of this you haven't. And the Circle I've been, in a lot of the last few years, I've been, along with working with all these bands that we discussed, I have been starting to go, well, I would love to see this music happen. I would love to see this record happen. And the Circle was a band that I loved. Again, Beatles connections. I've worked with 2 bands that toured with the Beatles in '66. I worked with the Remains many years ago. Love the Remains. And was like, I think I can do something here that is going to be good. And the music is great. The guys are great. You talked to them recently. And if people don't have to know my name with the involvement in this project. If people hear this music and they like it, that's all that matters to me. So stay tuned.
Well, you know what? I love the Circle. Great guys. Yeah. It was a great interview, and they were good enough to send me most of that new album. I've heard it.
Well, that is Full Circle. I don't know if you've heard any of the new songs yet. So
I've heard some of them. I won't say what they are, but I've heard some stuff. And those guys are amazing. I'll talk to you after the interview. Anyway, all I want to say is from Plastic EP, I'll let you take us out, Daniel. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. Well, thank you, sir, for letting me talk to you tonight. To everybody that I've met or have not met, thank you. You've all been a part of my life in one way or the other, and I hope I got a good picture of you. And if I haven't, well, I will the next time I see you. And stay tuned, and I hope to see you all again real soon.
From Plastic EP and Daniel Coston, all the best, and bye.
Cheers, man. Cheers to all of you.
Just call me Plastic.
Will do, Mr.